we're going to be creating a Ghostbusters Proton Blaster shot. This is the shot that we'll be doing today, which is kind of like him with like a regular AK-47. Again, I know it's not like the correct gun, but I figured it would be kind of like the perfect shot and angle to get. I went through yesterday and I made a couple pieces of footage that we'll be using here. Firstly, I had created the plate already, so that way we didn't have to make this live on stream. And then finally, I also created this second piece of footage here, which will be the blaster effect. But this right here is just a blaster effect that I created inside of Blender really quickly yesterday. I'm just going to go through and we're going to track kind of the barrel of this gun, because the other thing that I did was I have this whole thing kind of static. It stays in like this spot of the image right here. So we're going to need to track the barrel of the gun to have our electricity move with it. So I'll go ahead and add on like a tracker. Imagine like just like a small tracker work. So I'm just doing a transform. Again, we don't need the rotation or anything like that. He stays pretty static in the orientation of his gun. And also, if he was to do anything 3D, then we would have had to do a 3D camera move and then render that out in the plate. Let's go ahead and output this as a match move. And then, of course, if we add in a transform of where we're going to want this guy. I'm also going to add in a merge node that'll make it a little bit easier to see everything that we're trying to do here. Just merge them over here with a plus value and just kind of lining them up roughly to where the barrel of the gun is and where we'll want the blaster to kind of have the electricity coming out from. And then now with this transform match move, all we really have to do is, I'm going to go over here to make sure that it's starting on frame 1000. And if we place that onto our shot now, it should track with blaster, or yeah, with our gun. I'll call it the blaster. What I like to do for that is just throw in a keyer to the mix, and that's going to basically create an alpha of only the areas that are the most bright, rather than some of the fall off dark areas, because we can make all of that ourselves inside of Nuke. And then of course, I'll go ahead and drop in another merge node here, and this merge node, let's go ahead and make this a mask option. And now, that'll only have kind of like our alpha area, which should be the same identically in the center piece here. We're just removing the fall off blur that we're going to be adding after our transform. So that places everything onto our scene. We just don't have any flaring going on. We're going to create a bit of a glow to the outer edges of everything here. So we already have everything kind of set up. Let's go ahead and add in a glow here, where we're going to change the tolerance to be a little bit higher, probably like a 0.02 or something like that. We're just going to target like a specific area of the effect. And now if we drop in another merge, this merge is going to be on top of our main pipeline right here. So we're just going to drop that in there. And this should be a plus for a screen operator. And that's going to kind of add a nice little glow to it. And we're going to do the same thing again. So of course, drop in another glow. We're going to add another glow into this. And this glow, let's change the tolerance to be something like, let's just do like a 0.2 or something. I'm going to do effect only again. Oops. And let's change the brightness here to 0.5. Change the saturation to like a 0.8. And then this size, we're going to just crank it way up to a lot larger. And that's just going to blur everything quite a bit. So if we just add another merge node into here with another plus, should work pretty nicely. Another way we could do this would be with a blur node. I'm trying to keep the color in there. I'm not really happy with how that kind of got rid of everything. Wonder if we add a saturation node in. Yeah, that should work for us. So if we blur that with a saturation node, that way I can keep all of our nice, beautiful color in there. And And I'm just going to make that a lot smaller. So now we can kind of control the amount of like kind of like this overall blur that's happening inside of this section here. Just going to add glow everywhere. We are still having like this clipped edge. So maybe an easy way of fixing this is I'm going to drop in another merge. I'll set this to like RGBA. Oh, well, let's also do this real quick. I got to set the reformat here to 2048 by 1080. And then let's see, drop that B into here. And a mask option. And if I invert this, oh, that's much nicer. I think that works a lot better than just having like a hard edge. And now we can adjust the amount of glow all through here, like the amount that we want. So I'm kind of thinking we can even have this kind of pulsate a little bit. So like maybe it's a little brighter right now. And then a little less so here. That's pretty nice. I like that. For the initial effect, I think that works pretty good. I will say what we could do also is that we're having all of this kind of like glow happening off the edges. I kind of want to take the inside beams of it. Can we just can we add some exposure to this? And that's going to give us more of like that white edge in the center. Here's what I'm thinking. We're going to do 2 separate passes for this, but I want this line here. Just actually take it over here. Let's erode fast. And we could dilate inwards like so. I want to do the same thing though with the mask here. And that'll make just like these thinner arcs that we can definitely boost up the exposure on. And then now if I take this now dilated section and increase the exposure, that'll make these like really small thin arcs that we can then comp back on top of our regular CG. How much do we hate that? I feel like a lot. Actually, I feel like I want this to happen after the glow happens. So let's just paste that whole thing there. Yeah, so that way it's just kind of adding in like this white glow on the inside. And I think this blur right here just adds that kind of fall off on the middle. And then of course now we need the actual lighting of this to be reflected on his face. Rather than doing normals like we did last time, we can actually probably just roto his face. It's a lot easier. I'm going to track this side of his face because I'm going to have like a roto on this side of the face. I'm going to fake his face shape here. To give it a bit of a shape. I'm going to, as we talked about last time, I figured why not this time do it. We'll use a curves of like this area to really drive the factor of our key. So let's go ahead and just do it this way. Let's go. Whoop. I'm gonna move this whole section down again just to give ourselves some more space. I'm trying to figure out, so I'll need intensity data. Yeah, intensity data, and then this is the curve RGBA probably. We'll just select intensity data. That should work fine. I'm gonna go look at our curve tool here and make an adjustment to where the location of it is. I do feel like we want to grab that every time it goes above the area in which it's clipping. That should affect it. There we go. Now we just blur that a little more. A little more, a little more. But now you can kind of see his face flickering a little bit better. Let's see how that works with our merge node. That's just an easy way to take from our animation and kind of like comp it on back on top of it. I'm gonna use this transform here as another match move. Create. And if we add in like a grade node, my goal is just to have a roto node that we'll use this mask tool on. Kind of wanting to add in some kind of glare on his eyes. Alright, so now we have that. We can actually use our match move in our stack here. I'm going to make sure that the transform is set to current position for 1000, just in case there's any like weird keyframes before or after. But that's going to move with the movement there. And I'm going to just kind of position this, scale it down. We scale this down and put this like in front of his eyes. I'm going to add a reformat node at the top here. So now we have the transform in the correct area. Then we say we want the H input to be there. The mask input here is going to be from this roto and blur over here. And that's going to give us just the eye. And then this goes into there. And now boom, comp that on top of our eye. And we control the amount of it through the mask that we have. Let's copy, paste that to our after our transforms. That way it moves with our dude. So now we're getting that flicker kind of in his eyes that we didn't get otherwise. Okay, I think that works really nicely for the one eye there. Just adding in that flicker to his eyes. Let's add that to his other eye as well. There we go, that's the flicker, guys, in the eyes. And that'll correlate really nicely with our flare effect that we've got going on here. We always add in all these details in the comp just for us to add blur and darken everything later anyways, right guys? Essentially what I was doing was I made the eye, I took the actual frame here from the eye, reformatted it, and then I made two slivers of the eye like this, like so. And like so, and then I comped it on top of the shot here using two different tracks that would do that. Yeah, I'm thinking this flare looks really good, guys. I like that effect. I'm gonna add kind of like an overall kind of like lens flare to this thing as well. Okay, let's take this whole thing here. I'm gonna do another merge node. I'm just gonna try to create a little more. Thinking, let's have more of a fall off here. Okay, so that's gonna kind of create a little more shape to his face rather so it feels like the flare's coming more from this side. By the way, this whole thing with the eyes that I did, you could do the same thing with like a flamethrower or something like that as well. Same similar effect. I'm going to add in a flare now. Now we're going to add in a flare. I'm just going to do the same thing I did last time, honestly. Just using Blender. Because I currently don't have any Boris effects or anything like that. So let's just do it in here. Add in a single point light, and then for our image here, doesn't matter what millimeter lens this is set to, but do EV's fine. 2048 by 1080. There's our shot, guys. And what I do now in Blender is I have this lens flare plugin. This is like $5. I definitely recommend it. All I do is I just line it up with what I want. I create a keyframe. Okay. I'm going to create a keyframe at that specific spot there. And now it's a little floaty. So we'll just fix that every half that. How do you get half of 5? We don't know. Can't split frames in half, that's for sure. And we can kind of get rid of our background image now. Although actually, let's leave it on there for a half a second. I'm going to select this now, and then using the lens flare plugin, I'm going to find kind of like this. Let's go for some kind of like anamorphic. The red might be nice. I'm going to go with a simpler flare, I'm thinking. Call this flare 2. A good trick for this though is I'm going to add noise over top of everything. So let's go ahead and drop in a denoise. So that way I can just re-noise everything later. Here's another cool trick. I like to, if you press W on your keyboard, it allows you to split screen, and then you can kind of split it down the middle. Okay, so the idea is that we're basically wanting to match the amount of grain on both sides of this like W here. This is actually pretty close. So now I could take this grain node, and that's going to add grain onto everything. The thing we have to kind of be concerned about is that the highlights shouldn't have as much grain in them as the dark areas of your image. I'm going to primarily target kind of like the bright areas of the image here, and then if I use this as our mask option, so now we should be adding in grain to the bottom part there, but not onto the highlights of the actual white area there. Thinking we're going to want to add in some atmosphere to this. Thought it'd be kind of cool to use like an energy shockwave here. And let's go and download the ProRes of this. I'm thinking that this blaster effect thing, let's go ahead and add a time offset of 999 frames. Let's just say we're gonna make this time. I need the speed of this to change. I hate doing things in. So is retime just the best option? That's fine. Retime's fine. And then let's get rid of that for a second. I'm gonna add in a shuffle node, and we'll shuffle this into its own kind of like layer. We'll copy the RGB values of this, and then let's create a new name. Alright, so under our heat wave, I'm just going to copy the RGB values over into it, so that way over here, I can add an eye distort. Let's create another match move. That's pretty cool. It's pretty subtle. There's a few other things we can kind of do here. Let's add another blur in here, and I'm going to use as a masking option the heat wave blue. And now we're just going to blur like a tiny bit, not too much, but it's just going to be a tiny bit where that heat wave is kind of happening. And now the only thing I'm not really a fan of is how it kind of falls off. So let's see. I'm going to use another time offset after the retime. And it's going to be a -16 or -14. Let's do a -14. And merge these two on top of each other. So now I should get 2 waves plus 14 on this as well. And then I'm going to use A2 to plug into that. So now we're going to have 3 pulses that kind of happen. And the match move should definitely happen after all of this crap. Alright, so now we're getting this nice little blur effect that's kind of in here that we're not going to see. But it's definitely this nice little extra kind of warbling effect. I might even go a little crazier on it. I'm thinking also maybe some smoke. So we're going to add in some atmospherics primarily around this area here that'll be lifted up by like kind of like our bright areas. First ever VFX I ever did in life was a lightsaber visual effects shot. It's in my blood, dude. One day I will make a Star Wars film. It will happen. I'm going to use, here's actually what we could also do. I'm going to add in a curve tool. Let's plug it in all the way over there. gonna select kind of like this whole section here. Let's go to average intensities. Let's add a constant. And this constant is, let's add an expression. Curve tool 2 dot intensity data. And now it'll actually make it red, green, or blue. So actually, if we go look at this, you can kind of see it. Let's just add a saturation node in. Make it more saturated. What we could then do is use another merge node and then multiply this color value on top of it. And so if we use the multiply, it'll basically just multiply whatever color we're getting from our constant onto it. Let's just add another tracker. This is pretty easy to do. Just add a tracker in. Track something in the environment that's like a marker. All right, I'm gonna take the brightness values from our blaster that we have here. Take this, blur it, and that's good. I'm going to then take this value and then desaturate everything to just a black and white image. And we're going to use this for our smoke. So add another merge node in here. And I'm going to use a mask, plug it in all the way over there. Just do the red values. Now it's only going to have smoke in the areas in which kind of like this blurred effect is happening. But now we're only having the atmospherics appear where kind of that laser is going to be going through and not in the dark areas of our image. Just drop in an O-flow or something like that, and then just make this 3 times the speed. And then just do time offset as well. Let's do 900. That way our fog is going to move a little bit quicker. We could have grabbed a different plate, but I'm a lazy, so I don't want to download anything else. But yes, then this then gets comped into our image. And of course we can control the amount that we want this to be seen. I'm going to increase the amount now because it's only going to be in specific parts of the image. Okay, now we got the smoke kind of appearing in that area. That's good. It's good. Now let's hit playback everything here. Okay. Overall, it's working pretty nicely. I'm gonna overall grade the scene to be a little more red, and then I'm going to add a little bit of contrast into our scene as well. Or specific, well, not contrast. If we take the shadows here, we could take the gain down a little bit on the shadows. I think that it would be pretty nice. Okay, so I mean, hey, I think this is gonna be the shot here. Pretty simple shot today, actually. Nothing crazy, nothing crazy. But yeah, this is the blaster shot for Ghostbusters. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button. You guys have a good one, and I will see you next time. And keep creating, guys. Keep doing it.